are you going to a place where there's something wrong with that, or
No, it's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's a question of whether any of us think that the policy motivations for any of those groups align with ours.
somebody may say there's a lot of people that showed up for Obama just because he was black.
Sure, they can say that. I don't
Right.
know. I mean, I don't know.
But
Is
what do you
that
mean?
true?
You don't think it's true?
Of course, in a country of 330 million people, there are going to be some.
No, but you said you don't know if it's true. It's like, what do you mean you don't know if it's true? I don't know how
have
many.
any.
You don't have any data. You want to get data to say people showed up that they just because they're black.
What do you care about? How are you evaluating his performance to decide if you're going to vote for him in 2020? Like, how do you? I'm curious. How do you decide? He said, "Well, I care about the wall, so he's got to build that wall." And I said, "Perfect. If he doesn't build the wall, are you still going to vote for him?" And he says, "Well, yeah, I'm not going to vote for a Democrat." So I said, "Oh, so it doesn't actually matter if he builds the wall."
The same with you as well, though. There's no way you're voting for a Republican either. Would you vote for a Republican?
Sure. Yeah.
Who
I
have
mean,
you-
if I
have you ever voted for a Republican president?
no, I mean, I've only
Okay, then
voted
you
in a few
wouldn't.
elections.
Yeah,
No, but hold on a second.
Dude, nobody would show up when Biden would speak. Did you not see his tour when he was going campaigning?
Patrick, you're not really doing this, are you?
Tell me-
You're
In this one, we're going to have a look at a debate between Patrick Bet David over with the PBD podcast at Valuetainment and David Pakman, the progressive. And I love these kind of debates because Patrick Bet David is so smart. He asks the right questions, and David Pakman scrambles quite a bit in this one. I had a good time making this video, and I think you guys are going to enjoy watching it. So let's go ahead and check it out.
Why would he have? Why would the independents, the ones in the middle who are let's just say slightly more reasonable, and they're willing to say, I don't like this guy on the left, I'm going to vote right. I don't like this guy on the right, I'm going to vote left.
Yeah.
Why would they have still chosen Trump over Biden?
I have no idea. You'd have to talk to them.
Well,
I just don't know.
But you're given your arguments, and so your arguments you're given is you're talking about polls like Biden because America's more respected under Biden than Trump. Okay, so
and that has nothing to do with American voters. We're talking about people in other countries.
But totally get it. Yeah. But when you say something like that, the voter says, "Oh wow, the world respects Biden more than they respect Trump."
Sure.
Okay. Somebody may say, well, maybe because anybody who was an enemy of America hated Trump because Trump would deal more directly with them than Biden would. Biden, you can't necessarily see him. He doesn't look like a leader. He's not an Obama-esque. He's not a Clinton guy. Biden doesn't come across as a strong leader. But you're saying he's more respected than Trump. Great, no problem.
Okay.
So then I go and I ask you a question and I say, if COVID doesn't happen, does he get reelected? Yes. Why? You say because more people show up. This whole narrative about the fact that you need the middle voter to tip them, that's not true. It's how many people show up, and it's his people because his people don't care if he gets anything done. And that's what you said. That was your narrative, right?
Yeah,
that's what you said. Those were your words.
Some of those words mirror the things that I said. Yes.
Okay, so it activates, which means so Trump's voters. So give me. When you say I speak to a lot of these Trump voters, there's obviously a lot of animosity in you. You have a lot of resentment or animosity towards them. I don't know why, but you seem angry and upset towards Trump. I mean, your comments towards Trump is boom, voters are this, voters are that.
Well, I think the problem may be with that. I have to interrupt that.
But I get that. So what is, and you can answer all those questions and I'll give you your time.
I'm not remembering all of them, but I'll try to write them down.
What is the DNA of a typical MAGA voter in your eyes?
There's not any typical DNA. I think there's basically three primary categories of people that vote for Republicans, and Trump introduced a fourth. Fair to introduce these four categories?
Break it down for us. For us that, we don't have your intelligence.
Well, it's not about intelligence, and I don't know if you're being sarcastic. It's not about intelligence. It's just about have you researched.
This is your world. Okay, so this is your world. So tell us what you think about the three and the fourth.
With your intelligence, imagine what you could do if you looked up the things I look up. That's really the incredible. Yeah. Okay, no. So in all seriousness, four basic groups. Pre-Trump, you had three groups. You had sort of pro-business, low-tax right-wingers, people like Mitt Romney, basically. They are, Romney maybe isn't a little bit of an exception because as a Mormon, he has some socially conservative views, but you've got like your Romney type who's concerned with let's not overregulate businesses, let's not have taxes that are too high, let's create a good business environment. As governor of Massachusetts, that was sort of his idea, and that's a very blue state, and he did well. So you've got like your Romney types.
Traditional, low tax, limited government.
Yeah.
Republican,
not extreme
millionaire,
not extreme right on social issues
type people,
not particularly homophobic, for example, or okay. Then you've got your more libertarian-minded people. I found it interesting when you said you're independent and libertarians. In the U.S., libertarians are mostly right-wing, and they mostly vote for Republicans. So then you've got your very libertarian-minded people whose focus is that. We want just as much freedom to do as much stuff as possible. It often includes freedom to discriminate if I don't want to do, like a gay wedding cake. That you've got that group. You then have evangelical and religious voters whose primary things are less economic.
So what was your second one? Second one is
libertarian.
Libertarian. Okay.
Third, you've got your evangelical religious
the Mike Pence
voters.
vote, if you will.
More the Mike Pence vote, people for whom abortion and gay marriage and more recently, trans stuff, that's really the most important. They'll go with the economic stuff, even though it's actually often not good for them. And you started to see this under Reagan a lot, where these religious voters, they went with Reagan, even though economically it wasn't the best thing for them. Those are typically the three groups.
You hear the common term, they're voting against their interests because they have social ideology that they gravitate towards.
So you've got those three groups. Trump had all of that. The early Ted Cruz support in 2016 is that third group, that evangelical. That eventually went to Trump. Trump coalesced these groups because they really weren't going to vote for Hillary. The fourth group, which Trump kind of created, is people who were not at all engaged with politics before. They didn't pay attention. They knew Trump as a celebrity. They didn't really have a political identity. They were disaffected. They weren't really participating before.
So 4 is his personality, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. They got brought in specifically.
He introduced that? That's been around for a while, though.
He introduced what?
You're saying Trump introduced the 4th. You said typically it's 3.
Oh, yeah.
But Trump introduced the 4th, or Trump has the 4th?
Trump
activated
activated this fourth group, which was people who were not in any of those three categories I mentioned and got engaged in politics for the first time because they heard Trump say something that they liked.
Give some examples of those type of. Are you talking about West Virginia coal miners or people in the deep red South?
They were from all over, but it was people who liked that Trump was going to fix trade with China. A lot of them didn't really know what that meant, but it sounded pretty good. Maybe the person had lost a job. They came to believe it's because of China that I lost my job. That sounds good. Or people who are on immigration, they're like, the wall, of course, you and I know you're never building a wall, never mind Mexico's going to pay for it. But there were people who like the idea, never were in politics, like, no, it sounds good, I'm voting for Trump. So he brought in this fourth group.
It's an interesting evaluation that he put together there as far as that fourth group that Trump brought in. And you'd think that that would amount to more votes for Donald Trump because of this new whole fourth group. And especially when you consider there's a lot of people out there that are just going to vote Democrat no matter who the candidate is. But I guess you could counter that by saying that there's also a fifth group that came along with Donald Trump, these, the TDS never Trumpers, essentially. Maybe those people offset that fourth group. But it's just curious to me how Donald Trump could bring in a whole nother group of voters and somehow still have lost in 2020.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the fourth group, to be exact, it's his personality that people were turned on by the way he was.
Could be personality, but it could be that there was one thing he said that they really liked.
So let me ask you a question. Is there something wrong with that? I'm curious. Are you going to a place where there's something wrong with that? Or
no, it's not about right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's a question of whether any of us think that the policy motivations for any of those groups align with ours.
Somebody may say there's a lot of people that showed up for Obama just because he was black.
Sure, they can say that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
But
Is that true?
You don't think it's true?
Of course, in a country of 330 million people, there are going to be some.
No, but you said you don't know if it's true. It's like, what do you mean you don't know if it's true? I don't
have any.
You don't have any data? You want to get data to say people showed up just because they're black?
There's exit polling on most of these issues. We might be able to find it right now.
No, it's
I think it's fair to say people voted for him because he was a cool black
I cannot even tell you how many people. I knew Republicans who were voting for Obama in the insurance industry just because, like, listen, man, first time this guy talks like MLK. He sounds reasonable. I'm going to vote for the guy. There's a lot of people that came out with him. So somebody may say, well, the reason why Obama got elected because he's got the 3 difficult things when he talks to the Democrat, but the 4th thing is he was black.
Okay.
And are you going to say what?
Before he answers, I will just speak to his point there real quick. I remember listening to Rush Limbaugh back in the day and hearing people call in and saying There's no way as a black person, when I talk to my grandchildren and they ask me years down the road, did I vote for the first black president, that I could tell them no. So 100% there were people voting for Barack Obama because he was black. And I also remember people saying they were going to vote for him. I'd see posts on Facebook that they were voting for him because they thought they were going to get something free, especially healthcare. They thought that if Barack Obama wins that election, they were going to get free health insurance. The United States was going to basically go to universal healthcare. Complete nonsense, and a reason to understand that Democrats will lie and say anything that they think you want to hear in order to get elected. And then once they get elected, they do something different.
I would say, yeah, I'm sure that there's a portion of people who vote based on that.
So you're saying the DNA of a Trump MAGA voter who looks past policies. So you're saying on the 3 policies he didn't check off, the 3 policies here, the 3 points. You're saying that.
I'm saying he didn't build the wall, or I'm not.
No, so let me take a step back with you.
Please.
So I'm asking you a question, and I said, so tell me if you're saying he's going to get reelected without COVID. You're saying he would have gotten reelected.
I think he would have.
Perfect. And then you said, your words, you said something in the context of, because I think the MAGA voter is not about policies. That's what you said.
A lot of that 4th group, yes, is not about overarching accomplishments. Or I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, and maybe it'll help to distill it. I got a call at some point during the first term of Trump from a guy who said, I'm voting for this guy. This guy's just the best. And I said, oh, okay. What do you care about? How are you evaluating his performance to decide if you're going to vote for him in 2020? I'm curious. How do you decide? He said, well, I care about the wall. So he's got to build that wall. And I said, perfect. If he doesn't build the wall, are you still going to vote for him? And he says, well, yeah, I'm not going to vote for a Democrat. So I said, oh, so it doesn't actually matter if he builds the wall.
The same with you as well, though. There's no way you're voting for a Republican either. Would you vote for a Republican?
Sure. Yeah. If I
have you ever voted for a Republican president?
No, I mean, I've only voted in a few elections.
Yeah,
no, but hold on a second.
But you're 40 years old. You're 1984, so
I'm 38. Please.
84, 38 years old. 38 is still. You've had plenty of elections.
Let's back up for a second. There's 2 questions. Would I and have I? I've only voted in a few presidential elections.
You've had plenty of chances.
Well, but who would I have voted for? I was going to vote for George W. Bush in 2004. No.
But it doesn't matter. The point is, when you're calling that guy out, you're the same as that guy.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so tell me a Republican you'd vote for.
I think you're missing the picture.
What is it, though?
The point is, he made a claim that he was going to make a vote depending on policy. And when I then said, so if the policy fails, you'll vote for someone else? And he said, no, actually, the policy doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. That's the difference. I'm not making that claim. Yeah. Making that claim.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a completely different thing.
I mean, the same can be said. To take one example of a story of a person who sounds like an idiot, to say that and then categorize everybody in Trump is selective hearing. To say
that's not what I'm doing.
That's selective for you. Well, you are kind of doing that. You're saying here's a Republican voter who you ask, why are you thinking about voting for Trump? Oh, because he's building the wall. Then you said, if he doesn't build the wall, well, I would never vote for a Democrat. Well, do you care if the wall never gets built? No, I don't care. I'm going to vote for him anyways. Well, that doesn't sound like a reasonable voter to me, though.
That's right. He's not a reasonable voter.
Well, the reasonable voters to me was also, if you were to ask the average person who voted for Biden,
sure,
they didn't vote for Biden.
Okay.
They voted against Trump.
Okay.
So that's where I have to disagree with Patrick Bet David there just a little bit about being an uneducated or a bad voter or whatever. Because the scenario that David Pakman presented is that the candidate says, I'm going to build a wall, then the voter elects them, and then the candidate, after being elected, doesn't build the wall, so then all of a sudden that's a bad voter because they don't change their opinion, when the reality is they can't go and take their vote back after the person is elected or once you've even submitted the vote. So the scenario isn't even realistic, right? And not only that, how many times have we seen Democrats in the past say they're going to do this and that and then don't even try to do this or that? It was Donald Trump, after he won in 2016, that literally went out there and attempted to do everything that he said he was going to do in his campaign. He wasn't able to get everything done because a lot of that required the cooperation from the House and the Senate, who simply weren't willing to work with Donald Trump at the time, which hopefully this time around, when and if Donald Trump wins in 2024, we can get a House majority of Republicans, we can get the Senate majority of Republicans, and they won't handcuff him like he was handcuffed in the last 2 years of his first term. But like I said, I disagree that that is a bad voter or an uneducated voter or whatever, because if they just had one simple policy that they were voting for, they go out and vote for that candidate, and the candidate changes their mind or duped the voter, that's not the voter's fault.
Do you disagree?
I'd have to look at exit polls. Is that true?
So is that where you go to?
Something like
that. For
that.
a guy who, if this is your space,
yeah.
What's your podcast about?
What is it about?
What's your show about?
News and politics.
You should know this stuff. You're the expert. I brought you here.
I just don't remember that offhand. Let's find it right now.
But this is your world. Like if you ask me questions on business, I'm going to say, let me give you my feedback on what I think about business.
Yeah.
You invite me on your podcast, and hey, Pat, I want to talk about business.
Let's do that.
I have no problem with it to do that part. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're coming here, saying what you're saying,
sure,
and then I ask you a simple question of, so the same thing can be said about people that voted for Biden. Yeah, I'm going to vote for anybody. Dude, nobody would show up when Biden would speak. Did you not see his tour when he was going campaighing?
Patrick, you're not really doing this, are you?
You're
doing this?
I'm actually curious where you're going to go now.
Biden wasn't even doing events where, this is the Biden one from the basement thing.
Yeah.
I have a counter to this entire, and I want to just be really clear. I don't really care about defending Biden in any particular sense. I just think he was the better option than Trump. I feel like I'm being framed as this Biden lover who's going to defend everything Biden
I'm not
did.
doing that. You may be thinking I'm not doing that to you.
What I want to say about this is,
can you pull up Biden's rallies when he was running for president? Go ahead. Let's see the pictures, but go ahead.
Biden didn't do a campaign the way Trump did it. And the funniest thing to me about
neither has anybody done it like the way Biden's done it. He hid.
But hold the guys.
This was during COVID, though.
Yes. Let's back up for a second.
Look how beautiful that is.
Well,
these are
because
COVID
it's
rallies.
COVID.
Oh, stop!
Patrick,
you got to be kidding me.
Can I tell you something?
Pat,
this is really
You're telling me
you seem silly when you do this.
Here's what I'm willing to do. What I'm willing to do.
Please.
I'm willing to give him $1 million of my own money right now to go try to fill up an arena.
For what? What's the point?
Oh no!
To show that nobody is inspired by this guy.
This is not silly.
No, but what's silly is for you to assume people voted for Biden. They voted against Trump, is what they did.
Many did, yeah, sure.
Yeah, but what you just said.
I said I don't know what the percentage is.
But
all I'm saying is I don't know the
percentage. But it's your world, though. This is like if you're gonna sit here and talk about how bad the Trump voter is, and let me tell you, these people, all they care about is his personality for it, outside of the taxes and all this other stuff. And then I ask you a question, and I say, so why did people vote for Biden? Many of them voted because they just didn't want Trump. Yeah, I don't know the numbers on that. You should know those numbers.
Again, I got to correct Patrick Bet-David. He said that nobody has done this before when he talked about Biden's basement campaign. Well, that's exactly what Kamala Harris is doing right now. And so she would be the second person adopting Biden's basement campaign, and she doesn't have COVID as an excuse. She couldn't even do a 30-minute interview on CNN with softball questions that was pre-recorded without having Tim Walz, the old white guy, in tow, right? So it's too bad they didn't get into the Kamala Harris factor in this debate, and the fact that she still doesn't have any policies listed on her website. All she does is ask for donations. She revamped the donation portion of her website, ironically, but she still hasn't added those policies. She's not out there doing interviews. She's not out there doing podcasts. She's not doing rallies. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is out here speaking every single day, hours and hours into the microphone, and we haven't seen one big thing that the Democrats have been able to use against Donald Trump to make him look like he has dementia or to make him look like he's slowed down one bit. And that's probably a contributing factor to why Donald Trump is gaining on Kamala Harris and overtaking her in a lot of these polls and swing states. And at this point, Donald Trump could take Pennsylvania, he could take Arizona, he could take Nevada. And if he does, I hope he does. And if he does, that would be really nice for him to just pretty much landslide here, but the election's not over. It hasn't even begun, so we cannot become complacent. And like I've said in many videos, and I'll say it again because I think this is an important point to stress, as soon as those polls open in your area, we need to show up, we need to vote in person, We need to vote early, and we need to vote for Donald Trump and, frankly, Republicans down ticket. I'm not a big advocate for just going out there and voting for the R on a ballot. I actually think that they should remove the R and D from people's names when it comes to these ballots, so you actually have to know who it is that you're voting for and what their policies are and how they align with your beliefs and and how it will affect your own life. But in this particular instance, we need Donald Trump to win, and we need Republicans down ballot, like I said earlier in the video, so that he won't be handcuffed by Congress or the House, and that he can get the things done that he promises that he'll get done, which is something that America needs, that is something that Americans need desperately, and frankly, the world needs a strong America, and I think Donald Trump will provide that. So if you agree with those last points, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel, share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.